Hey everybody, my name is Aaron Shane. Welcome to Habitat Now. This is a really exciting Habatat-Zoom to talk about the past trips, especially the last past trip that Habitat went on via cruise ship through Europe, visiting all kinds of ports, seeing all kinds of artists, visiting all kinds of studios. And can you believe it that the gallery's been doing these trips with artists since the late 90s, which is pretty incredible, almost every single year, and sometimes multiple per year. But I want to invite Ferd and Kathy, who are here, who have been on every single trip, which is a great archive. And Sue and Al Weiner wanted to be here, but they had other plans that were scheduled this date. But they'll be communicating with anybody who wants to go on the next upcoming trip, which we're going to be kind of talking about today, which is kind of exciting. So thank you guys for being here. Say hi. That was an invitation for you and Ferd, Mom, to say hi. And you go, we're happy to be here. It's great to see you all. All right, you guys are zoomed out. I get it. All right, let me kick into my PowerPoint, make sure it's up and running. And I'll take over your screens, everybody. Okay. So, little housekeeping. We do these Zooms every single Saturday. I will not be doing one next Saturday due to the fact I have a wedding to go to. My cousin's getting married in Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm driving out there with my sister to enjoy a wedding away. So I don't have anything planned. So I know you can figure out something to do. I promise. As we kick back in to the week after, we'll continue on. If you haven't seen the Zora Palova Stefan Pala show at the gallery, come and see it. It's an incredible display. We have a virtual tour online you can view too that my brother Corey Hampton talks over, which is great. Their work is incredible. They're incredible. We're honored to have them. Something fun. So in November, grab your masks and head to the gallery. We're doing a show for Susan Taylor Glasgow. It's a masquerade exhibition gala celebrating her exhibition titled Let's Fall in Love. So I would really love for anybody to come and dress up and have fun. It's not every day you get invited to a masquerade event, so it's going to be a great time. We have an auction coming up that we're putting the final touches on, so prepare for that. I did mention earlier, I think that the Pelchuk auction's ending today, so if you have a chance, go and explore some new younger artists that are selling stuff at that auction. And then I think this might be the last slide of housekeeping. Our Sarasota event is planned. The plan is coming together. All the invitations have been sent out to the artists to participate. We have 4 exhibitions which haven't been formally named yet, but the artists have been invited, and it's going to be an exciting time. We're going to be visiting the Ringling, the college, the Sarasota Art Museum, the Ringling Museum. We're going to be going to the Imagine Museum. We're going to see the same location at the soundstage at the Ringling College. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you're there. Oh yeah, NGG continues every single week, the beginning of the month. And that brings us to celebrating the past glass tour. So Kathy, my mom, you're going to start off telling us about how this kind of came together, but I wanted to thank you and thank Ferd, thank Sue, thank Al for all the years of doing this, because it's a labor of love. I sat in on one of the meetings where they discussed how they actually did the planning for these trips, and it blew my mind of how detailed and how elaborate it is. So it's a lot of work that goes into these to make them so fun and enjoyable. Yeah, feel free to take away.
Okay, so just to give you a little background about how we all started. We met the Weiners through Habitat. They would come to the international events every year, and got to know them. Being glass collectors and travel agents was really very good possible collaboration for us. But Ferd had been going to Prague for many years, and he was involved with Art Centrum. Under the communist regime, Art Centrum kind of controlled all of the artists and in the Czech Republic, and got to know Ferd, and Ferd traveled many years over there and visited the artists through Art Centrum. So with this background, the Weiners decided, being travel agents and glass collectors, they decided they'd like to go to Prague and bring some collectors. And they would call the gallery, and I would answer the phone, and they'd ask, different suggestions as to where to go, what artists to visit. And always they wanted to talk to Ferd about all of his expertise and his experience doing this. So after about the 4th phone call, they said to us, would you consider collaborating? And we thought, oh dear, we could either make a lot of friends or a lot of enemies. We're not travel agents. and we're not used to being day and night with collectors. And we thought it over after a couple of days, and we thought, well, we'll take a chance and we'll collaborate. So it worked out. Our first trip was to Prague. We contacted the artists, made sure that they had work to show our collectors. The whiners took care of all the travel issues, luggage, events, visiting homes, transportation, and we were involved with the artist studios, making sure that the work would be shipped back in a timely way, hopefully. And after that first trip, we thought, geez, was it a successful one or not? Well, turns out it was a great compliment, because all of the collectors looked at us and said, where are we going next year? So this continued on and on. And one of the wonderful perks that we didn't realize, that all of these collectors and ourselves and the artists, we got to know each other. And every time we would go to SOFA Chicago after that, or different glass events, it was like a family reunion. Everybody knew each other. It was really a wonderful, wonderful, rewarding experience. And we've been doing it ever since.
So Aaron, are you going to interject, or should I go to the trip that we just took?
Aaron?
Let me unmute myself. Sorry about that. I was trying to get my
Oh.
speaker going. So I didn't know that narrative about how this plan came together. That's very
Mhm.
interesting. So I learned something today too, of how this whole thing started. Yeah, feel free, Ferd. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Okay. The last trip that we went on, we went to England for a few days, and then we took off into the Baltic Sea, and we ended up visiting 9 different countries and exploring artists that really have not been seen in the United States. Some extraordinary finds, and other artists, of course, that are very recognizable. We had the privilege of sharing their history with them. So we started off in England, and I'm just going to mention a couple highlights of people. Bruno Romanelli, who I had seen the work, but mostly like online. And all of a sudden we were in his studio, and the work is beautiful. And he is a really interesting artist. There's a thread that holds all his work together. He's got a real strong feeling of minimalism in his work, but just beautiful forms. Another great find was Richard Jackson and Sally Faulkner. And in their studio, they had Joseph Harrington and Monet Larson. Now, this is probably the 3rd time that we have visited their studio, but each time they just keep getting better. And this last time, it was quite extraordinary. That is actually a picture of
Harrington.
Yeah, of Harrington's work in the studio. They were very, let me see who's, that's Monica Larson in that studio. But they were gracious enough to let those 2 artists show. Joseph Harrington was a real highlight. A lot of people were very interested in his work. And he's had, again, very little exposure, if any, in the United States. So that was quite neat. Then we went to Guggisberg Baldwin, and that's always sensational. We've known them and visited their studios in Italy and France, and we've been with them when they were divorced, when they were together, and now they're together again for several years, and a wonderful couple. So glad that they are working and living and enjoying each other's company once again.
And it was our first experience going to Wales, which is where their studio now is. And Wales is the most beautiful, beautiful country.
And they incidentally, are going to be our guest artists in Sarasota this year. They're going to be doing the demos and having an exhibition. So that's going to be very exciting.
That's great.
So another great highlight was visiting Ann Wolf. Ann Wolf is a legendary Swedish artist, actually German artist that lived in Sweden. She opened a studio back. Incidentally, on the screen right now is Romanelli work. Ann Wolf was just a special treat for us. She's 85 years old now. She has a foundation that kind of handles her work. Though there was quite a few wonderful examples, and people were able to acquire some great work from this legendary artist.
It's always a true honor to see Anne. I've met her in person. It must have been incredible to see her in her studio.
Yeah, yep. And no, that was my phone. So
In the middle of a Zoom.
other things that we had was we went to Denmark. And for the first time for us, we saw the Habatat Museum and spent time there. And Janos Waldenowitz had an exhibit there, beautiful work. We had some really great group exhibits because we are really confined to the Oceanic cruise ship where it stops and how long it stops for. So we had to make plans where we'd have several artists exhibit together so that we could really get a good feel of the country. And we did that in Estonia. We had a group exhibition. And there was some very interesting work. You know, in some of these countries, they haven't had the exposure to other artists and haven't had as much of an audience. And consequently, sometimes the work is more innovative because of that. And sometimes it's a little more primitive than what we're used to seeing. There was also a fabulous group exhibit in Denmark. And these were some well-known artists, Stig Persson and gosh, quite a group of artists. I can't
Brown.
remember all their names.
Brown and
Yeah, the people that make the wonderful Viking ship.
Bacchus and Brown.
Yeah,
Yes.
Bacchus and Brown. And then also we went to Finland. Normally we had a difficult time finding work in Finland, but online I was following a man named Dylan Katz, who makes his work, he calls it Uncanny Ice, and beautiful pieces. And he had in the studio with him Anu Pentington, who is an artist that was actually very successful. A number of people acquired her work. But in Sweden, we came across a guy named Fredrik Nielsen. And ultimately, we didn't sell one piece of his work, but he was the most innovative and creative artist. Excuse me. He used his phone number and he put his phone number on sculptures that would be outdoor sculptures, outdoor walls, and he would repeat his phone number again and again and again. And people say, how would you put a phone number out to the public like that? He said, oh yeah, people would call me. I'd have nice conversations with them.
he was a zany guy.
A zany guy, yeah. Everything was in pink too.
Yeah.
And his work was very, it looked like a number of pieces pushed together in one form, but it really kind of expressed his graffiti-like ideas in working with glass. Probably the most exciting artist for Kathy and I was Andia Munkelvicka. Hard name to pronounce, absolutely great work. work.
Yes.
Again, isolated in Latvia. Uh, she had a factory that was just extraordinary, or a studio really, but she would make work that was heat extracted sculptures and in sizes that would range up to like 12 feet high. Remarkable. And she was like, I feel, the greatest find for us throughout Europe. I didn't know very much about her. People just said that she was the best in the country. And indeed, yes, she is very much the best in the country, one of the best in Europe. So we're hoping to bring her over so people can
Right.
become familiar.
She's virtually unknown in America, and she was
Yeah.
such a discovery and true artist. She was amazing.
And I want to give another shout out to Tobias Mole, who is always such a wonderful stop. You know, his work is a mixture of Venetian and Swedish, and he blends these two so beautifully together. And now you all might be familiar with him because he's had many exhibits in the United States, but it was such a treat to see his studio. So, Aaron?
Yeah. Well, thank you
Yeah.
guys for
Yeah.
sharing your story. And I invite anybody in the room who's been on one of these tours to unmute yourself and share maybe a memory or a story or something you've enjoyed from these trips that Habitat has been doing. There must be so many over the years. Feel free to join in.
So, Erin, it's Eve. Hi. We went on the last trip and it was fabulous. And we agreed totally with Ferd that Andra was such an incredible find. And we actually ended up buying 3 pieces from her, which someday in our lifetime we may even see.
Yes. Logistics
We
are
haven't
always
seen them
fun.
yet. But we agreed that it was definitely one of the highlights of the trip. It was fabulous. And the whole trip was wonderful. It was just terrific. We loved it.
That's great to hear.
We had to overcome a lot of things.
We did.
Yes.
You and Kathy,
Yeah.
you and Kathy were great. I mean, you just seamlessly took over, and it was very tough without Alan and Susan, and we were all very upset, but you guys did a great job. You really did.
Well, everyone was
Thank
very
you.
understanding
Yeah.
also and supportive. We really appreciate that. Great group of people, all of them, every single one is so wonderful to get to know and
Right.
great friendships.
Yep. Everybody got along really well. It was just great. It was terrific.
Mhm.
Yeah.
These trips obviously have ups and downs as traveling does generally, but in this particular trip, the tour guides had to leave Ferd and Kathy in charge. Luckily, a lot of people who have been on these trips, including Ferd and Kathy, were able to continue the logistics and travel throughout the entire trip. So tell us about, in this particular last trip, the cruise ship. You guys went on a cruise ship from port to port. How did that work entirely?
Well, it's we went on the Oceania, which we have gone on 2 other times with collectors. One time in the Mediterranean, and I love the Oceania. Their food is fabulous, and if you can make it work, it really is great. The last time we used them in the Baltic, we went to Russia, which obviously was not going to happen this time. But this time it was going to Estonia and Lithuania and Latvia, which we'd never been to before. So it was, in that sense, much more exciting, finding new people.
And also the cruise ship is really wonderful because not every day did we have a studio visitations at the ports. So a lot of us had free days during those off times, so we could, kind of visit all of the different areas. And I have to say, the winers doing these trips, creating these trips, they find the most wonderful boutique hotels and fabulous restaurants throughout the trips. They do a marvelous job in their research.
There's a picture of on Wolf with book stands.
That's incredible. Yeah, that was elaborating earlier about the trips and how like every ounce of the trip is planned. But that's
It
nice
is.
to know that there's some free time to enjoy
Mhm.
yourself too while you're on this elaborate tour throughout Europe.
Yeah.
Because it's a big thing. You might want to enjoy it. And all does everybody participate in all the events, or does some people go off on their own sometimes? How does it usually work?
Most people participate. It's quite remarkable. One time we were in the Czech Republic and we had gone to studio after studio after studio, and it was the last day, and we had to drive quite a while to see Peter Hora. And so we gave people an options. Look, you can enjoy Prague, the city, or you can go with us.
To yet another studio.
Yeah, up, 2 hours away, Peter Horace studio.
Yeah.
And said, can we have a show of hands? I think everybody but one couple said they wanted to go to the studio.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, that's really obviously a highlight for people that are interested in glass.
So, well, before I continue the slides on, will you give us a little bit of your thoughts on next year's tour? Give the sneak preview of what the plan is in general, though it's not definite yet.
Yes, yeah, I suggested to the whiners places that I'd like to go, and I said, well, fix it up so it works. So they are working on hotels, logistics, a river cruise boat, and what I said is I'd like to spend like 3 or 4 days in Venice and visit not a lot of studios, because a lot of studios are kind of redundant and a lot of the work is redundant, but to go to the great artists, and there's about 6 or 8 of them, and then go to the museum, just experience Venice, and then hop on probably a plane, maybe a train, and go to Hungary and start in Budapest and go on a river cruise that would take us to the Czech Republic, Slovakia, perhaps Vienna, perhaps Germany, and be able to have a really nice experience in a variety of places where glass is legendary.
That sounds fantastic. Mixed with travel on the different ways of getting from one place to the next, and seeing those sites. It sounds like a great experience to be part of. I'd love to do it. Sign me up. I want to be in. I want to go out there and do it. To wait for my 2-year-old to be a touch older, but that sounds incredible. And hopefully the world will come back together again a bit before we travel again, and all the chaos that's going on now. But
Yes.
it must so like when does the plan usually come together for next year's cruise? Is it the end of the year, usually towards the end of the year,
This
early
would
next
be-
year?
This time it would be, we're looking at September.
Okay. So that's when you would
And,
go. When would you have to be signed up before? How does it usually work?
We usually really get aggressive about promoting it in the springtime on a trip like this. I'm not sure when we'll find out if all of my grandiose plans are feasible, but I think I'm hoping by the end of the year we'll have the plan in place of where we're going and the logistics of how we'll be traveling.
How many people usually go on this trip with you guys?
The most we've ever had was 53 in Italy.
Mhm.
Happened to be like 100 degrees every day.
That's unusual.
That was in Venice. And yeah, the logistics of getting the apparatus and traveling by boat. Oh, my goodness.
But usually on the average, just wouldn't you say around 20, 25 people,
We
26?
normally have, I would say, 24 to 32 is what we usually kind of shoot for.
Gotcha. So about 30 people in total. That's a big
Yeah.
table, but that would work. That
Mhm.
could be very fun. So talked a little bit about like that. Do you have a chance to sightsee along with this? Is there places people really want to check out when they usually go to trips like this? And then you have a chance to see things on the way to different studios, or do you usually go straight to studios?
Well, I found two things out. One was that when you become the travel agents also, you don't get as much sightseeing in or drinking. So, but yes, there's almost in every city, the wineries find a guide.
That's right.
And the guide then takes us around the city, so we become familiar with all the significant sites. So it's more than just glass. It's actually a wonderful learning experience about the variety of places.
And the off days on the cruise ship, when we do the cruises, a lot of us just sign up for the cruise itinerary, different places, and we do that on the off days, which is a lot of fun.
So let's say I wanted to sign up today and it was all hammered out. What are my responsibilities on my end, and what's taken care of by Sue and Al on the trip, cost wise or planning wise, like, like transportation, car rental, all that kind of stuff?
Oh, no, all of that is taken care of. All you have to do is pay.
Oh, and get your airline tickets.
And the wires help with that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Everything is pretty much taken care of.
Yeah,
Bring your passports.
yeah, they take care of all the logistics.
Mhm.
It
So they-
really is.
Pretty easy.
So
Yeah.
they help you once you decide you want to go, and you reach out to Sue and Al Weiner. They say, okay, where are you coming from? Let's put this plan
That's
together.
right. That's what they do.
Yeah,
And you get everywhere you need to be.
Yes.
And that's fantastic.
Yeah,
well-
they're very organized and very, very responsible, effective people. As we wouldn't be collaborating with them all these years if that weren't the case. They're fabulous to work with.
So if you're interested in being on this upcoming trip, send me a note, Ferd or Kathy or Sue and Al, and put you on the list to just make sure you're aware of everything as the plan comes together. If anybody else would like to unmute and tell us a story, feel free. I'd love to hear more.
I got a quick question to ask Ferd and Kathy.
Oh, hey, Corey Hampson, my partner here at Habitat. Good to see you, my friend.
See you. I'm curious what studio was your favorite part of this last trip individually?
well, Ann Wolf is up on the screen right now, and that's always a tremendously exciting opportunity to see her and her work. But the biggest surprise I mentioned was Anda Monkovica,
Yeah, she was
who
amazing.
is absolutely amazing. And so I would say that,
And also Tobias Moe was fabulous,
Yeah.
one of our last visits.
yeah,
Just
Tobias,
fabulous work.
yeah. We really see great pieces along the way, I must say.
And we even have some, like McGarver, she did a demo for us, which was amazing. They really prepare for our visits, and she had a huge, I don't know, science fiction kind of equipment on her head doing this work and molding it as it came out of the oven. I'd never seen anything like it. She was amazing.
Using heavy gloves to manipulate the work,
Yeah,
taking it out of the
that
oven.
was pretty special.
Yeah, very,
Like-
a lot of very different ways of working. That was quite exciting. So this is another earlier trip to Ann Studio.
We're at the older section now. We're kicking into some past pictures, so blast from the past as
Oh,
we round it
yeah.
out here.
Yeah.
It's in Costa.
Oh,
These
yeah.
are some, you go back in time here.
And now,
Oh,
wow,
Babinski.
with Stanislav, the beautiful piece.
Yeah, that well.
This is
It's
this is my,
ours.
this is my favorite picture you've heard. It's called "Who Wants This Levinsky?" Who wants it? That's too fun. These are some photos that we had in the gallery from an archive that I scanned a while ago, and I was able to pull up some great pictures of experiences people had on past
That's her
trips.
backpack? Yeah, I think so.
No, it's
No,
when
that's Joanne
Sharon?
Den and Sharon.
Yeah.
Yep.
June did, yeah.
Ferd help himself something healthy. Looks like you're eating something green. Good, good. And
This was in Venice,
Yes,
at the Biennale.
this
That
was
was-
at the gallery.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Ladies' night out here. It's great.
Yeah. Aw.
It's a lot of fun. Must have been a lot of fun traveling to these places and dressing up. And Antoine there
Oh, yes.
Yes.
from a
That was
past
a good
visit.
visit.
So you guys picked an interesting place to sit. That Jan Exner behind you was a piece you
Mhm.
guys commissioned during one of your trips for your own collection,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
So tell us a little bit how that came together, if you don't mind.
We went to Exner's studio and he had this fabulous body of work. There was one piece that Kathy and I fell in love with, but another collector bought it. And so I went up to the collector and said, would you mind if we commissioned a piece that's similar to that?
Mhm.
And they said, oh, absolutely not. We would be delighted if you would do that. So with that encouragement, we did, and we love the piece.
Mhm.
Great, and came in like any other work, and you guys enjoyed it. And then I think it is a stunning piece next to your Levinsky behind you. So
Mhm.
that wraps up the visuals. We went through 150 slides, believe it or not, people checking out the past trips and past tours. I'm sure there's so many more pictures out there. And if you want to send me them, or in the future, feel free to send me. I'm building an archive, kind of keeping a record of these experiences that have happened over the past. What was the first year, Ferg, you said that you guys did this tour?
1999.
Mhm.
1999 was the birth of this, and an experiment that has lasted for this long, and it is.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's everybody raves about these trips and how much fun they are, even with the ups and downs, that it's something that is you cannot experience any other way. Planning to do this trip by yourself would be almost impossible. Just the
It
fact they've
would be
been
impossible.
doing it since the 90s. It's just like such an easy thing to do and an easy decision to make, to go and enjoy glass throughout Europe with people who love glass just like we do.
And what's wonderful is that, we've been open for so long, over 50 years, that all the artists know Habitat. And so doors open that normally wouldn't.
That's true.
And I don't want to brag about ourselves, but it's true. And the artists are very excited to see the collectors that we bring, and it's really a wonderful, fun-filled trip.
Great. Well, thank you. I thank everybody who's joined today, those who were on the most recent tour, Paul and Eve and Malcolm and Barbara, everybody who's been on one of these tours. I congratulate you and hope you enjoyed yourselves. And in the future, sign up for next year's trip to learn more information about it. I know Barbara mentioned earlier, she's been on a couple of them back in the day to Italy, and it's a great experience. So again, thank you all for joining me today. Thank you, Ferg and Kathy, for being part of this today. And we'll share this on YouTube. If you like this kind of content, please share it, like, subscribe, that bell, all that stuff that you do on YouTube. And we'll be getting it together again, not next Saturday, but the weekend after. And I want you all to have a great weekend. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.